Today, we stand at a pivotal moment. The plan for our new school is finalized. And
After the
construction will
emotional
begin
embrace
immediately.
the night before, the next morning feels calmer. Jack and lytutien sit side by side on the porch, looking at their small garden still covered in morning dew. For the first few minutes, neither of them speaks. But this silence is no longer heavy. It is gentle, as if they understand each other better after everything that happened. Jack holds a cup of water, gazing toward the distant mountains. He thinks for a long time before speaking. Lytutien, what if we don't use the money for ourselves? He pauses, making sure of his thoughts. We could use it to help the people here. Lytutien does not respond immediately. She looks down the narrow dirt path leading into the village, where people pass by every day, still living difficult lives. An idea begins to take shape. A new path, completely different from anything they had before. Lytutien remains silent for a long moment after hearing Jack's idea. She does not reject it immediately, but she does not agree right away either. She needs time to think. She stands up and walks outside, looking toward the small village at the foot of the mountain. The simple houses, the dirt roads, the children running around in worn clothes. Everything feels familiar, yet lacking. She remembers their first days here, when they had nothing themselves. It was the people in this village who helped them adapt, who shared meals and small tasks. Lytutien turns back to Jack. "You're right," she says softly. "If we use it, it must be used the right way." Jack looks at her, unable to hide his surprise. "You agree?" She nods. "But we have to do it carefully." A decision has been made, not because of money, but because of meaning. That evening, Jack and Lytutien sit together at their old wooden table. In front of them are a few sheets of paper, a pen, and many thoughts waiting to be organized. Jack begins writing down ideas. A school. The children here need a better place to study. Lytutien nods and adds, "A medical station. The elderly have to travel too far for treatment." They continue discussing, step by step. There is no perfect plan, only real needs. They do not talk about the amount of money. They do not talk about reputation. They talk about people. The dim oil lamp casts a warm glow over the table, creating a quiet, intimate space in the mountain night. Jack pauses and looks at Lytutien. "Are we doing the right thing?" She smiles gently. "I think this time we are on the right path." The next morning, Jack leaves the house early. He walks down to the village carrying nothing but an old hat and a careful gaze. The dirt road is still rough, just like every day. But today, Jack observes everything more closely. He stops in front of a small classroom made of temporary wood. Inside, a few children sit at worn-out desks, some cracked and uneven. The wind slips through gaps in the walls, gently lifting the pages of their notebooks. Jack stands still. Then he continues walking. At the far end of the village, an elderly man is being supported by his family. They talk about having to travel many kilometers to reach the nearest clinic. Jack tightens his hand slightly. Everything he had heard before now becomes real. No longer just an idea, but reality. He turns back and looks at the entire village, the simple houses, the hard-working people. In that moment, Jack realizes his decision is not only right, it is necessary. That afternoon, Jack and Lytutien begin preparing for the village meeting. There is no complicated plan, just a simple announcement delivered to each household. Jack goes door to door, explaining that he wants to talk about a shared plan for the village. Some people nod and agree to attend. Some look curious, but others show hesitation. Lytutien watches from a distance, observing everything. She realizes this will not be easy. Not everyone believes in something that sounds too good to be true. As evening approaches, the village yard is slowly prepared. A few wooden chairs are brought out. There is a sense of anticipation in the air, mixed with quiet doubt. Jack stands in the center, looking around. He knows this meeting will be the first step, and possibly the biggest test. As the sun begins to set behind the mountains, villagers start gathering in the yard. Small groups form, quietly talking, occasionally glancing toward Jack. The atmosphere is not loud, but it is not entirely comfortable either. Jack stands at the front, beside lytutien. He takes a deep breath, then steps forward. "Thank you all for coming," he begins. His voice is not loud, but it is clear. He tells his story, without hiding anything, without exaggeration, just the truth. When he mentions the inheritance, murmurs begin to spread through the crowd. Expressions begin to change, from curiosity to surprise, and slowly into doubt. Jack continues speaking, but he knows things are starting to become difficult. As Jack finishes speaking, the atmosphere in the village yard is no longer quiet. Murmurs begin to spread from the back, gradually growing louder. Some people turn to whisper to each other, their expressions no longer as friendly as before. A man stands up. His voice is not loud, but it carries clearly across the crowd. $5 million? That sounds more like something from television than real life. A few light laughs follow. Another person adds, "You used to be a CEO, and now you come here talking about helping people." It doesn't sound convincing. Their words feel like small needles, piercing the already tense air. Jack remains still, not reacting immediately. He understands. They are not wrong to doubt. Even he might not have believed such a story before. But understanding does not make it easier. The weight of their suspicions settles heavily on him. For the first time, Jack truly realizes helping others is not an easy path. The doubts continue to rise from different parts of the crowd. No one shouts, but every question carries clear suspicion. Do you have any proof? Where is the money? What if this is a scam? One question follows another, leaving Jack no space to respond. The tension thickens. Jack stands in the middle of the yard, feeling dozens of eyes fixed on him. He could argue back. He could explain everything. But he chooses not to. He chooses silence, not because he lacks answers, but because he knows words are not enough right now. Lytutien stands beside him, watching everything unfold. She can feel the pressure he is under. But she also understands. This is not the moment to argue. It is the moment to find another way to prove the truth. At the peak of tension, Lytutien steps forward. She does not raise her voice, but her tone is clear enough to slowly quiet the crowd. "We understand why you doubt us." She looks at each person. "Because if we were in your position, we might feel the same." The yard begins to calm. "We are not asking you to believe us immediately, and we do not need blind trust." She pauses for a moment. "We will start working, building step by step. As we do, you will see for yourselves." There are no grand promises, no exaggerated words, only calm sincerity. And that begins to change a few expressions in the crowd. The meeting slowly comes to an end. Villagers begin to leave, walking back in small groups. No one says much, but the atmosphere has changed. It is no longer loud, only thoughtful. Some people glance back at Jack and Lytutien before leaving. Their expressions are no longer purely doubtful, but not yet trusting either. Jack stands still, watching the yard grow empty. Lytutien steps closer to him. "Are you okay?" Jack nods slightly. I understand them. He looks toward the path leading into the village, and I will prove it through actions. The sunset spreads across the sky, painting everything in warm gold. A new journey has begun. Not easy, not fast, but meaningful.